Chris is asking, I've heard that noodling on the guitar is a waste of time if trying to improve. But I think practicing lead over backing track is not a waste of time. What is noodling? That's a good question. So the way I look at it, I mean, it's all words, right? It's what meaning do we put to the words. But for me, noodling tends to be a more mindless activity where you're not really thinking and you just, I mean, here you gotta be careful. Not thinking can also be a good thing. But in practice, we want to have a high awareness level and a high level of doing things with intent, right? With intention. And I would argue that noodling has a low grade of intention. And it's more the muscle memory doing stuff that the hand knows with the captain up here being asleep at the wheel, kind of, yeah? So that's the noodling we don't want. And the good noodling, if you want to use the word that way, I wouldn't call it noodling, but you could say the good noodling is the mega chops, for example, yeah? We just keep going. You have a very clear intention of what you're trying to achieve, or you're trying to hit the thirds, you're chasing the thirds, or whatever you do, you have a particular task in your mind that you're pursuing, and that makes the noodling high intentional and more effective. So let me get you on here.
Hey, Ulrich.
Yeah.
Hey.
Does that make sense what I mean?
Absolutely. Great description. I'd heard that term floated around, and I didn't want to be guilty of noodling because I'm, wasting my time, but I didn't know what it meant. But I think you're right. I think, directed or at least some goal in mind,
Yeah.
like if I'm trying to learn some lead on against, I don't know, some a backing track with some chords, at least some intention of, like you said, hitting thirds or practicing a lick, or if it's directed. I think that's the thing, rather than just putting on what's that backing track called, Maggot Brain, and just sitting there, and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
kind of
And
playing
and
that something.
and very often, the guitar players that practice just with backing tracks, they will just play the same vocabulary over and over.
Yeah,
And then it will feel like, and then they're telling me like, oh man, I'm so, I sound so repetitive, and seems like I only know this, I play the same licks over and over. I don't know more licks and stuff. And
right.
and that's, you can kind of get caught in a certain mindset,
Yes.
and that's where the intentional practice can get you out of that. Even
Yeah.
though it might sometimes sound like noodling when you practice still, like let's say I want
Right.
to
Right.
practice, uh, I want to practice to just let's say like Tin Pan Alley, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you just have this, you have this kind of quick licks, but they are very soft and understated, and they just keep moving all the time. There's no pauses. And
Right.
say like, okay, I want to try if I can apply this sound over a backing track and get that into my playing. Yeah.
Yes.
And let's say, I have this chord progression here, and I'm like, okay. Someone that's listening could be thinking like, okay, he's just noodling around, he's just playing, but I know exactly what I'm trying to do, and I try to stay on target of musically integrating that lick idea into my lines.
Yes. Yes. So that would be like, to me, like polishing up on a phrase. which I need to do a lot of work on.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that would be in addition to things like increase trying to increase your vocabulary or your phrasing. That
yeah,
wouldn't be noodling either. So
exactly,
those are
exactly.
intentional.
So,
So that's another
basically
dimension.
you could say like, anytime that you practice and imagine me tapping you on the shoulder, say, hey, Chris, what are you working on right now? And if you cannot give an answer, then, then you're probably noodling. And
Yeah.
if you know exactly, yeah, actually, I'm working on this vocabulary here, or actually I'm working on, trying to hit that particular note when I'm doing the
Yeah.
lines, then it's
Yeah.
not it's not noodling in my book, yeah.
I love that. Ulrich on my shoulder. That's
Yeah.
really going to work great.
Yeah.